Every man has been on the brink of something, the brink of divorce, the brink of addiction, the brink of I'm not enough, the brink of depression.
What's your thought process when you think you can't go on?
My tactic or strategy to deal with pain or negative emotions was sedation. So I'd suppress the pain through sedation, alcohol, drugs, gambling. There's that feeling inside of every single man that will come up, which is along the lines of something feels wrong. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. The one thing we teach at Empowered Man that allows you to understand your pain, because your pain is power, your pain is simply a lesson and a teacher for you. There are 4 core areas I focus on: body, mind, balance, which means relationships, and wealth.
How many blokes are really being honest with themselves?
So men are afraid of addressing the pain because it hurts. A woman is always watching you. She's not watching your words, she's watching your actions. So I'll give everyone a framework on how they can actually implement this into their world. Step 1.
Tony Versic, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, brother. I've been wanting to talk to you about some of these topics for a while, and the life by design that you're building is so epic, man. So thank you for having me.
Mate, I can't remember how long ago it was. I kind of lost track of time and years and stuff in the 6 weeks that I've been a parent, but I was on yours not that long ago and we connected briefly before that. And now it's good to have you on talking all things empowered men in general, life by design, see where it takes us. But before
Amazing.
we get started, can you give the guys a 60 to 90-second spiel of who you are and what's got you to where you are today?
Yeah, so my name's Tony Versic. I run the Empowered Man. We've currently helped about 5,500 men fix their marriages, reconnect with their children, and find work-life balance. I'm no saint. I've been a sinner many times in my life. Alcohol, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, jumping off a balcony after one of the many arguments with my wife, and just trying to find that elusive balance, life by design of being a successful business owner without burning my marriage, my health, or my happiness to the ground. So over the last 9 years, we've built our own apps, we've built our own systems, and basically helped men get through the struggles of modern day society, because you and I both know for a lot of men right now, it is very fucking challenging. And by building this team and building this movement, we've been hopefully able to help some guys build some of that balance, but more importantly, build that power within themselves. That's what it means to be an empowered man, to actually wake up every day with peace, presence, purpose, and joy. In a nutshell, that's what I do. I give men the tools, the strategies, the mindsets, and identity shift to ultimately live a life of freedom, not just in wealth, but in their mind, their emotions, and also in themselves.
That's quite succinct. There's a lot that I can pick out in that. But
Yeah.
I'm interested, and I don't think we spoke about it on the podcast with you, but I have heard your story kind of in different spaces over the years.
Mm.
Because I was similar. I kind of got very close to pushing myself over the edge,
Yep.
exactly in the way that you did. Well, not exactly in the way, but similar. Um, what was your thought process then? What's your thought process when you think you can't go on? Because I find this bit interesting because
Mm.
if you haven't been there, you and I have been there, so this is a really interesting conversation. If you
Yeah.
haven't been there, it's really hard for you to understand, like, how do you even get to that place? So do you remember your thought process of like why ending it was better than living?
Yeah, I have 3 very clear moments that maybe not everyone can relate to, but people can understand. And before I share them, I would highly recommend people listen to that episode with you, because it was so powerful, man. So many men got value hearing your story
Awesome.
on our pod. So highly recommend it. Look, mate, I've had 3 moments where I thought about ending my life. The first was about 9 years ago. I was your typical hardworking man, busting his balls to provide, feeling a lack of appreciation at home, and creating stories. My wife doesn't care. She doesn't appreciate me. She doesn't respect me. The intimacy and sex were gone. Now, I ignored a lot of the problems and I swept them under the rug. And I remember 6 months prior to my wife leaving me, she said, I don't think we're going to work out at one of our lunch dates. And my exact response was, don't say shit like that. And I instantly just deflected it. 6 months later, She's been going out. I don't know where she is. She's not communicating with me. She comes home one night at like 10 p.m. I'm fucking worried sick. And she sits down and looks me in the eyes and says, Tony, I don't love you anymore. And I've got my whole life planned out. I've got the kids planned out. We just bought a house. Like everything's fucking sorted. The money's there. The house is there. Like life is good. And it's this massive hole in my chest. And like so many men, I tell myself the story, she ended it overnight. There were no warning signs. And I point the finger and play the blame game. Now, I don't know about the men listening right now, but my tactic or strategy to deal with pain or negative emotions was sedation. So I'd suppress the pain through sedation, alcohol, drugs, gambling. I stopped that because of my partner, not because I wanted to be better. My partner then leaves. So I go on a 3-month bender. I don't sleep for 4 days at a time. I'm snorting, drinking, smoking. I am destroying myself. And after 3 months of the blame game and the victim mentality, it's everyone else's fault. I'm sitting there in my room, high, drunk, whatever it was. And I'm thinking, maybe it would be easier to not exist because the pain is so great. And for somebody to be suicidal, they need to believe the pain is pervasive, meaning it's every area of my life. It's personal. It's all to do with me and it's permanent. And in that moment, I felt those three things. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be here anymore. And it's funny because we can go into father wounds and childhood trauma. My father, who was never there, my father, who was the alcoholic, by chance, he calls me and he asks how I'm doing. And I tell him, I don't know if I want to be here. And this isn't made up. This is 100% true. My father is a fuck up in many ways. He said something that will always stick with me. He said, Tony, you have so much more to give and so much more life to live. And I'm like, is this Gandhi speaking to me right now? And it's not like something magically shifted. It was fucking hard, but it was the wake up call for me at that moment to go, what am I doing here? Like I am blaming everyone else. I have no power. I have no purpose. I have no direction. And in that moment, there is just darkness. Fast forward to 5 years later, I'm with Rosie, my current wife. We have two beautiful girls together. And I've got my shit together. Life's amazing, married, everything's in place. Same fucking issues: stress, sedation, suppression. I start drinking to deal with the stress a little bit. I've been sober for years. One whiskey turns into two, two turns into four in the evening. Before you know it, a month later, I'm having whiskeys while coaching men running the Empowered Man at midday. Rosie and I start arguing like crazy, and we get into a very stupid argument. It was always about something silly or stupid. And instead of dealing with it, I throw my whiskey at the wall, run to the balcony in Bondi, and I jump off the balcony because I'm so drunk and blind. I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. And I was so limp from the whiskey that nothing broke. It was only 2 stories. Could have injured myself. And the next day, my wife is staring at me with two faces. One face is love and care. And she's like, this is my man. And the other version of her is looking at me with pity and disgust. And in that moment, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I even here? And I know I'm going on a bit, but this is relevant. I'll explain why. The third time, I'm not drinking. I've got the business, I've got the balance, I've got everything lined up, and I've achieved my goals. So I've got my daughter's born, I've got 4 properties, I've got a team, everything I've always wanted. My wife and I are good. And then this kid comes along and I drown myself in work because I don't know about you, like when my daughter came, I felt this pressure, man, like the weight of the world on my shoulders. Like now I'm not a boy, I'm a fucking man. I thought I was a man. So 6 months go by, and because I haven't set any new goals, I've achieved quote unquote everything. I start drifting like a motherfucker. And 6 months into it, I'm not exercising. For the first time in my life, I have a dad bod. I've always been fit. I don't have any goals or targets. And I'm sitting in my room, my daughter's in the other room, and I'm thinking about killing myself. And then the guilt and shame creeps in. Because now I'm like, how dare I feel these feelings and think these thoughts? I have a fucking daughter. How dare I think about leaving when she's here? So then the guilt and shame trap starts creeping in. That day or the next day, I go to the doctor and I ask for antidepressants. He says, well, I don't think you need any. I said, no, I do, He says, you should talk to someone. I already have. Here you go. Hands them over. It was that easy. And I took an antidepressant at like midday. 1 p.m. I couldn't keep my eyes open. And the next day I threw them in the toilet and I'm like, get your shit together. Those are the three biggest moments in my life where I thought maybe I shouldn't be here. And man, there were moments where I was close. And for anyone who hasn't experienced it, maybe you've experienced a lack of purpose, a lack of drive, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you should be further ahead, feeling like as a man, you don't know what is next for you. You don't know how to carry that weight. Every man can relate to that. That was a lot.
There's a lot in that.
A
Dude,
lot.
I just had to take a couple of deep breaths when you were talking about that bit with your daughter. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to fuck man, that's brutal. Especially when there's kids involved, you know, like as you know, Frankie's fresh. I just to get to that place. I can understand when you get to that place when you don't have kids, because I've been there. I've been in that place, but fuck, it must be a new level when you had your daughter in the next. Like, did you feel like it was a new level of place that you had to get to even consider it as a kid, like with a kid?
I think every man's capable of it with or without kids.
Yeah.
And I also want to make something very clear that I'm so grateful for that experience
Mm,
because whether it's suicidal thoughts or stress at work, whether it's suicidal thoughts or just a lifeless, sexless marriage, every man has been on the brink of something,
mm,
the brink of divorce, the brink of addiction, the brink of I'm not enough, the brink of depression. So yes, it's another level, but that was the last time.
mm,
That was four years ago, 3.5 years ago in Sydney. We now are in the Gold Coast. And that was truly the catalyst and turning point for me. I thought the turning point was my ex leaving 9 years ago. I thought the turning point was jumping off a balcony. It wasn't. And I got complacent and I got comfortable and I thought success was the fucking key. But it wasn't until I went through that moment that I realized this is the point. Because I asked myself, like, when is enough enough? When do I decide to just live in peace? Like, when do I decide to be not needing more in my business or career? Because I had plenty. When do I want more out of desire, but not need more out of scarcity and I'm not enough? And when do I get out of anger and shame and guilt and fear and take off this fucking mask that so many men wear of I'm good, I'm fine? Because that was my story, man. And I think a lot of guys can relate to this. Is like, how's your day? Good, not too bad, fine. I was
fucking
like,
does
dude,
my head in that chat. It does
yeah,
my head in.
it's crazy, right? And most men
Mm,
don't realize they're doing it. And most men need to wait until fucking rock bottom before they change because they
mm,
don't audit their life. You and I talked about it this on your podcast when
yeah.
you spoke on mine. So yes, to answer your question, it was another level. And I'm so grateful it happened. And I can only begin to imagine how many men are suffering in silence because they're not aware of it and they're not grateful for it,
Mm,
you know?
mm. When you're struggling, and again, I reckon this is really hard for people to like. Shani, who you'll meet at some stage, is the definition of love and light. Like she has the most amazing predisposition to just joy. So she finds it hard at times to resonate what, you know, like on a story like yours and mine, and even, you know, as an AFL boy who committed suicide a few weeks ago, and it just like it rattled me, and I just like I don't even know him, but I just struggled to let it go. And she's, you know, she's so empathetic, but also empathy can only get you to such a place if you can't kind of feel it or really click with it.
Yeah.
So, how do you describe pain to someone who hasn't experienced it? Because
Mm.
I don't know your experience, but I don't know that I necessarily realized I was in pain. I knew I wasn't in a good place, but it was there was such a level of dissociation, disconnection, like
Mm.
just my head up in the cloud as almost like a protective mechanism when I was at my worst that I couldn't access the pain. Well, I didn't want to, probably is probably a truer comment. So
Yeah.
What did that feel like for you, or how would you describe that to someone who hasn't experienced that?
That's a phenomenal question. And to anyone listening right now, this isn't a doom and gloom podcast. There is a
Nah, no.
world, there is a world, right, where every man listening right now, or the woman listening who have men in their life, that man can experience six different states.
Hmm.
So peace, presence, productivity, all right, being personally connected, joy, and connection. Those are states that we are born into, right? So we come out of the womb. We don't come out depressed and anxious and in pain. We come out lovable and full of life, like a baby when you see it, no matter how it looks, is lovable. Now, for a lot of men, what happens is they either experience deep levels of pain or deep levels of numbness, and they're intricately connected. So, how do you describe this to different types of men? There's the pain that you're aware of. There's that feeling inside of every single man that will come up, which is along the lines of something feels wrong, something feels off. The most common forms of pain that men experience are anger, fear, sadness, hurt, guilt, and shame. Every man has experienced this. My father was a very angry man. I was afraid of my father. I told myself I'd never be like him. Lo and behold, a very angry human growing up and in my first serious relationship. So there's the pain of negative emotions. Then there's the pain of your mind. Many men will not admit this or be aware of it, but hearing this, they will understand it. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. And when your mind is your worst enemy, there are stories, words, and thoughts that resonate and circle around these little areas up here that will really take your power, presence, purpose, peace, joy, and connection away. For example, I can't find good staff, stressed about the things you have to do, worrying about money, thinking about that argument you had with your partner, feeling like you're not enough, which is still language. The words not enough aren't just emotions, they are language. So, one thing we teach at Empowered Man that allows you to understand your pain, because your pain is power, your pain is simply a lesson and a teacher for you. When my daughter is running on the footpath, she's 4 years old, and she falls over and hurts her knee, she is more likely to be careful in that area of the street next time because she learns from the pain. So, as a man, you have pain in your thoughts and pain in your emotions. Now, as a man, there are four areas you can control. There are your thoughts, the words and stories in your head, your emotions, what you feel physically inside of your energetic body or being. And those thoughts and feelings create actions and reactions. As an example, most men can relate to the fact they come home after a long day and the house is a mess. That is a form of pain. The thoughts in your head are, my wife doesn't care. I've been working all day. She doesn't appreciate me. Now, those thoughts, which are painful, happen subconsciously. So, have you ever driven a car and you look down at the dash for like 30 seconds and you look back up at the road and you think, shit, I haven't crashed, and you're more careful? That's because your subconscious programming, your operating system is running on autopilot. Those thoughts, when you come home and judge your wife, those painful thoughts are subconscious. Now, within a split second of those thoughts happening, the next pain is emotions. You're frustrated, you're angry, you're triggered. You might feel stress from the workday that's built up within your body. That's painful. Every man feels that. Now, those thoughts and feelings and emotions that happen subconsciously without thinking, even though it's counterintuitive, they drive your actions and reactions, which happen on autopilot. How was your day, honey? Fine. Is everything okay? No, I'm good. You go into the other room, you start drinking. That's an action and a reaction. My whiskey drinking wasn't me driving home after a long day thinking, I feel anger. I feel stress. My thoughts are, this is bullshit. I can't find good stuff. I'm going to come home and argue with my wife and tell her she's a bitch. Didn't plan any of it. All that pain was happening subconsciously. So, how do you describe pain to a man? My strategy is simple. There are four core areas I focus on: body, mind, balance, which means relationships, and wealth. As a man, take 30 minutes of your day, get a pen and paper, and write down the word body, and write down this question: what's not working in my body, in my energy, in my sleep, in my nutrition, in my exercise, erections, sexual libido. Then go to mind. What's not working in my mind? I overthink. I struggle to switch off. I'm unable to be present after a long day. I'm worried about the future. What's not working in my balance? My wife and I aren't intimate anymore. At the beginning, we had sex every single day. I wanted to know her. She appreciated me. Now we're roommates instead of soulmates. What's not working in my wealth, my business, or career? Now, that is a very confrontational thing to do for a man because, first of all, to take 30 minutes out of your busy schedule is scary and you don't have time. And secondly, when you put it out on paper or get it out of yourself, you realize that for most men, there are a lot of problems and there is a lot of pain. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because whether you write it down or not, it already exists. If you ask your partner what she doesn't like about you, it's painful to hear her tell you because there's a lot. But it's also painful to sweep it under the rug and not address it until it ends in divorce. Back to your question, how does a man know he's feeling pain? He sits with himself and he actually gets to the truth. Most men lie to themselves about their problems. They lie about the fact that they're not working out. Most men look down, they can't see their little man anymore. And it's not intentional. It's not your fault if you're one of these guys. I have no judgment towards you. I understand. You get to sit with yourself as a man and create the time, the energy, and the space to strategize and think, to zoom out and really address what's not working. Because when you do that, it will liberate you to address the pain and actually do something about it. Does that sort of answer the question that you're looking for?
It
Yeah.
does. It
Yeah.
does. It's really interesting because it's the easiest and the hardest thing to do. I used to think a transformation started with awareness.
Mm.
And then I got to a place that it starts with a assessment, e.g. the truth. And fuck, man, it's painful. Like you can't obviously bring awareness to what you can't see. And to your point, really sitting down and being truthful is painful, especially when you are in pain,
Mm.
because it's like at times you can't handle any more pain. How many blokes in your world, and obviously as a business owner who really encourages this, I assume it's the kind of cornerstone of your empowered man, but maybe outside of that, how many blokes are really being honest with themselves? Because I don't know how you feel, but the more work I do, the more I have concern about society and the lack of truth or the lack of honesty that people have about themselves and where they're at. Do you feel similar?
It terrifies me.
Mm,
And we can go so many angles on this. My daughter's almost 4, and we talk about her emotions. We talk about what she's feeling. We talk about what she's done. She pushed in front of a boy at gymnastics a few days ago, and he started crying. We're sitting at the dinner table, and I ask her how her day was. She doesn't want to tell me about it because she already got in trouble from her mother. So I sit with her and I unpack it. And she ends up sharing with me that she did that because she wanted to be first. So now I'm teaching my daughter about empathy and understanding. I'm asking her if she understands what I'm saying. She's feeding it back to me. Now I want to make something very clear. I wasn't doing that 4 years ago because, like most men, I was lying to myself. I would say 95% of men are full of shit.
agree.
And I don't mean that with
Agree.
any disrespect. I mean that from my limited knowledge and my experience. We've had about 25,000 people come through our funnels online. We've made $13 million online, and that's just a representation of helping people in my eyes. And I've spoken to 10,000 men on a call. I'm not exaggerating this number, I have the data. Every single man that I've spoken to, not every man on the planet, says the same thing. I just wasn't aware of it. I knew there was a problem. I knew it was a little bit bad. I didn't realize it was that bad. And I'll tell you why this happens. Because men are afraid of addressing the pain because it hurts. Think about the word pain. So if you know your marriage is fucked, which a lot of men do,
Mm.
to say to your wife, I know, I listened to a podcast with Blake and Tony. I sat down and wrote down the word balance and I wrote down all the things that aren't working. We don't communicate. I come home triggered. I'm angry. I want to share with you that I'm aware of it and I want your feedback on how I can change it. That will help. But it's fucking painful to do that. It is extremely painful to do that. It's painful to get up at 4:30 and go to CrossFit. It's painful to be up all night with your new daughter or son and try and put them to sleep. But let's be clear on something here. Pain doesn't go away. So there's the now pain of doing hard shit, having the difficult conversation, going to the gym, sitting with yourself for 30 minutes without this fucking screen sedating you, which I've done, by the way. But it's also painful to avoid the pain. And what I look at is two types of pain. There's now pain. So addressing the problem now, which is painful. And there's later pain. Now pain, go to the gym. Later pain, heart attack. Now pain, have a difficult conversation with your wife. Later pain, divorce. Men are not getting to the truth, not just about the now pain, but the later pain. I'll give you an example. 5 years ago, right after the drinking debacle with jumping off the balcony, I'm upset at my wife, Rosie, because we're not intimate. I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel respected. All the stories that come with that. I'm sure you've heard them.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything. What the fuck? So I call one of my mentors and I start complaining about my wife. She's not doing this. She's not meeting my needs. Blame, 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 blame game, point the finger at her. My mentor pulls me up and he says, Tony, shut the fuck up. Excuse me? Shut the fuck up. What are you not doing? And I resist. What are you talking about? Pain, pain, pain. This is all her. Tony, what are you doing and not doing in this marriage that's causing the problems to get worse? I hear him because I'm paying him a bunch of money. I think everyone needs a coach. And I come home and I've thought about it for an hour and I sit down with my wife and I have a painful conversation. It was so difficult, Blake. Like it was torture. I sit down with my wife and I say, I know you're upset at me. We just had an argument. I would just like you to let me speak. And if you don't like what I say, tell me. And I sit there and I say, I know that I'm part of this. I know that I'm part of the problem. What do you want me to change? That was the advice from my mentor. My wife goes, nothing, it's fine. No, babe, I know you. I know you're not fine. I fucked up. I was angry. I yelled. What have I done wrong? No, it's, babe, just tell me. She proceeds to spend 35 minutes telling me all the shit she doesn't like about me. She gets 35 minutes deep. The whole time, my mind, I'm listening and I want to scream. I'm like, woman, are you serious? 35 minutes deep. I've pasted this fake smile on my face, which so many men do. And I say these words. I say, is there anything else? My wife says, no, that's it. And I'm like, thank fuck. Now, there's a point to this. I heard her and I said these words. I didn't know this was a strategy. This is one of the many tools we teach and you teach. I said these words. What I've heard you say is, and I summarized what I heard her say. And then I said, what I'm committed to doing is this. I'm probably going to fuck it up. I want you to pull me up on it. Now, that is what we now call our clearing conversation framework. And it's very painful to do. But it was the first time in my life where I took ownership of the pain and asked myself this question: what is my role in this pain? Not what is my wife's role, my business, my team. What is my role? And it was so painful to have that conversation. Now I can guarantee that if I didn't have that conversation, I would not have my wife and 2 daughters in my life. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because I would have avoided the pain of that conversation and created more later pain. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone who does a lot of work with couples, I always come back to co-creation, always, which I think is really important because in those early stages, fuck, there's a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting what you said of 95% of men are full of shit, of which I would completely agree.
Yep.
You know what I find fascinating then? Because women are intuitive as fuck and you're not getting away with anything. So if 95% of men are full of shit and aren't speaking the truth and aren't living their truth, etc., I would love to know what's happening in the minds of these women. Do they then go into this place where they're full of shit? Can they see straight through it? Like that for me becomes a very scary place. If you know your husband's full of shit. He's not speaking his truth. He's not living his truth. He's not, being his truth. 95% of men, I would agree with you. And they're like, and there you are.
Yeah.
What do you think goes on in the minds of women who know that?
I know exactly what goes on in their mind, and it's happening to every single man listening right now with a partner. They have a perception of who you are.
Mm,
Just like in every single movie, there is a hero and there is a villain. At the beginning of my marriage, I promised my wife the world. We're going to travel, we're going to have fun, we're going to spend time together, have children. And then that promise, which every woman holds on to, all you need to know about women is when she gets upset and she said, "You did that thing 2 years ago." You know that what I'm saying is true.
mm,
She remembers what you said. So I tell her we're going to have this amazing life, but I'm working too much. I'm never there. I'm never present. When I am there, she's talking to me. And even though I'm there, I'm not really there. I don't hear her. I don't understand her. Every single action I take, every single emotion I express, every single interaction I have with my wife, she's rebuilding and rewriting the story of who I am. And it's not just your partner, it's your team, it's your children. Everyone has a narrative of who you are.
mm,
They've got a story. So when you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it, they don't even realize this is happening. Their subconscious mind is rewriting that story. And this is the crazy thing. You can lie to your wife. I'll be home on time. You come home late. Do that 100 times. She stops believing you. You can lie to your children. Daddy will be home on time. You're not there. But the one person you can't lie to is yourself. And I truly believe this is why so many women don't trust their men, but also why so many men struggle with the not enough paradox is because they're constantly lying to themselves. As an example, you every time you say you're going to get out of bed to work out and you don't, you might not have told your partner you're getting out of bed, but you told yourself. And there's this little boy inside every man who is asking himself, what is my story about myself? So if you're a man who doesn't follow through on his word, a man who talks shit and doesn't do the shit, that means you don't have integrity. And if you don't have integrity in one area, how can I trust you in the other? Now let's flip it on its head. There's a woman out there listening right now and a man out there who's doing this, and your partner or you're the man who's not following through. You can turn that around very quickly. Because the beautiful thing about the narrative people have around you is their memory is short based on how you make them feel. So when you become a man who follows the fuck through and you do the shit you say you're going to do, which is challenging, having it all in my body, healthy, weaponized, having it all in my mind, bulletproof, unfuckwithable, having it all in my marriage, we're connected, intimate, appreciate each other. And by the way, I make shitloads of money and have free time, challenging, which is why most people don't have it. But when you follow through on all these areas, people notice it. For example, I'll come home today. Rosie will say, "How was your day?" And I'll be honest with her. It's been a challenging week. It was really stressful. But you know what? I worked out this morning. I spent time with my daughter, and now I get to take you on a date. So I'm combining the pain and the fact that I'm vulnerable and struggling with telling her what I'm doing about it. And she sees me following through. Guess what she does? She starts creating a story. That's my man. She said to me a few weeks ago, she was struggling with some trauma. She was emotionally struggling. And in the past, I would try to fix her, but I wouldn't fix myself, full of shit, right? She said to me on a Sunday night, "I don't know what I'd do without you." Do you know how good that feels for a man to hear? But again, I want to make something very clear. I wasn't the man who took action. I wasn't the man who followed through. Back to your question around what does a woman think? A woman is always watching you. She's not watching your words, she's watching your actions. And if your actions don't support emotional safety, emotional security, vulnerability combined with assertiveness, confidence, action, if you can't get all these things lined up, that woman will not stay. Your kids won't respect you, and you sure as hell won't win in business. The number one trait a man can develop is not just awareness, but taking action every day on the hard shit, the really hard shit they don't want to do. And you do that enough times, you become addicted to it, man. It's such a great feeling.
mm.
It's powerful.
I'd be interested in your world. Um, men's relationship with integrity when they're first coming in. Obviously, when they're in, I have no doubt that you speak highly of it. But
Yeah.
what's really interesting, the most popular video that I've posted in probably the last 4 or 5 months on Instagram was around integrity. And
Mm,
obviously, I've got a shit ton of women just going ham on it. I don't see any blokes commenting on it.
yeah.
It appears to me that every single female knows the importance of it, but
Yeah.
in my world, it's interesting how many blokes underestimate the significance of it. Do you find that when blokes come into your world initially that they don't understand the significance of it? Because it seems very
Yeah.
that there's a huge disparity between those that understand the importance of it, women,
Yeah.
and blokes who either don't understand the importance of it or are kind of blindsided to it. Is that your experience as well?
Absolutely. And one thing I would say, even though so many women commented on those posts that you did or posts that you did, there are probably so many men who agreed with it, but they're
Mhm.
afraid to speak up. Because as soon as you speak up saying, I agree, and the next time you don't follow through, you're now out of integrity. And I want to make something very clear. Like, you're not perfect as a man. You're going to have days where you say you're going to do something and you don't follow through. And that's okay, as long as you learn and grow from it. Now, women are craving integrity for men. They are craving you to follow the fuck through. And men are craving it as well, but they don't quite know how to live and breathe it. And that's the key. It's not about what you do. Anyone can go to the gym. Anyone can have a difficult conversation with their partner. Anyone can say they're going to do something difficult and follow through. And if you're one of the men who's done that once, fucking kudos to you. You can feel the confidence when you do it. But I think as men, we get to shift from going, I'm going to take more action, to becoming a man, having an identity of integrity and action. As an example, a few years ago when I moved to the Gold Coast, I set myself a target 10,000 steps a day. It would get to 8 p.m. I've got a 2-year-old at the time, and I've done 8,000 steps. So I'm having this war in my head that many of us have. I said I was going to do this thing, I didn't. My wife's right there. She knows I'm doing 10,000 steps. So I put my daughter on my chest because she's not sleeping and walk around my living room. And that wasn't me 3 years ago. Now it's who I am. And women are craving it, men are craving it. The only way you can achieve it as a man is through repetition. And guess what? It might not happen today or tomorrow. It might take you the next 12 months. But I promise you, as a man, if you can get to the point where you do enough repetitions, just like going to the gym, you'll build the muscle and it will become who you are. And the best way for a man to do this is just do hard shit. When you're at the gym and there are weight racks and there's a lower weight rack and a higher weight rack, put the barbell on the higher one. When you walk past some rubbish on the street, walk backwards, pick it up, put it in the bin. When you are at the shopping center and you're one of the people who leaves their trolley out, put it back. These little repetitions of integrity will make you better. So I don't think it's that men don't want to have integrity and that women crave it. I think it's that men crave it, but they're afraid to admit that because they feel trapped. If you can reframe that as a man and go, cool, I don't have integrity. It's not because I'm a bad person. I'm not trying to not have integrity. But ask yourself, what would your life look like if you just followed through? What if you just did an experiment for the next 30 days, 7 days, 5? You try build a streak of everything you say you're going to do, you do. And maybe you get to a 3-day streak. Great. You fail on day 4. Well, you succeeded for 3 days. Your next target's 4 days. Your next target's 5. One thing we focus on in our app, we've gamified the whole process, is streaks. We call them power streaks. No days off. How many days in a row can you journal, meditate, have that conversation with your partner, and try to build streaks and beat your own high score? And then you become a man who actually lives it. And like you said with that post, women crave that. They fucking crave it, man. It's so powerful.
What's interesting, and I'm going to assume that you probably feel the same. Over the last 5 years, kind of deep diving into men's work and coming at it from different angles, I also crave it now in terms of my closest male friendships. And I really, I kind of consider I've got like an inner circle, the name of my program, but also like an inner circle that Shani and I have.
Mm,
And consciously or unconsciously, that has come with a certain number of traits that we're looking for with our closest friendships. And in particular from the blokes, my inner circle, I'm looking for rock solid blokes who have got integrity. And it became louder and louder the more work and the more time that I spend in the men's space. How many don't have that? And that's fine. They can go and do what they want.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at an intimate relationship, it's obviously super important. But also, if you want to surround yourself with rock solid blokes, they're probably going to require that integrity in terms of your friendships as well. Is that what you find kind of important for
Yeah.
you in your world?
Every man needs a tribe, man. Whether they come to work with you, another coach, it doesn't matter, right? Every man needs a tribe. We have lost initiation in this world for manhood, right? For a woman, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but when you have a child, it's a pretty fucking deep initiation, and you get your period, that's a deep initiation. For a man, what is it? You start getting bonus, then you go out into the workforce. You either go to university, you go into a trade, you start a business, or you work for someone else. There's not a broad range of initiations, and all of them require working and grinding. So, as a man, part of the initiation process is the people you spend time around. And I speak to so many men, I'm sure you do as well, who say, I'm just a lone wolf. I feel alone. No one understands. Everyone around me, my mates are drinking at the pub. So not only do you want to have men around you that have integrity, but you want to have men around you who are supporting your values and your drive for growth. And a lot of men don't even know their values, right? They don't know what's important to them. So yes, every man around me right now that's in my world has been carefully chosen,
Mm.
and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think relationships are transactional. And that's okay. Like I'm adding value, hopefully, to you in a way, and you've given me your time, even though you're tired from your child, right? We're having a transaction here. So yeah, I think every man is lacking that, and having a tribe of successful men who are not just successful in wealth, but also who have the date nights and who have the healthy body. You're the average of those people you spend time around. Everyone knows that. And that's very much lacking in society. We're more connected than ever, but we're more disconnected than ever. It's a very dark place for a lot of men right now. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a wild
Yeah.
time. How have you gone navigating work-life balance? Some people hate the term, some people like it. I don't use it that much, albeit it's an undercurrent of my message, really.
Yeah.
But I think that the dance that I'm finding, and I don't know what your upbringing was like, and maybe there's something in that to kind of explore. But
Mm.
um, I can't help but think, in particular, this first 12 weeks of Frankie's time on planet Earth is so essential for me to be there, and I'm dancing this protector provider role of like, now I've got a family, but also I want to be there for her. How did you navigate that internal dialogue, which I assume so many blokes go through, and also, I guess blokes like us who are business owners have probably got a little bit more flexibility that could go, either way as well.
Yeah. It's such a pertinent question. There's two words that come up around that, and they are scarcity and abundance.
Mm,
So when Talia was born 4 years ago, and I was 6 months later suicidal, I spent zero time with my daughter. And I wasn't aware of it until Rosie pulled me aside with tears streaming down her face and screaming at me, I feel like I'm doing this on my own. You're never around. I don't know if this is going to work out. And I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, woman, I'm doing everything I can. So there was no balance because I was in scarcity. I need to provide. I should be further ahead. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. And I wasn't even aware that was happening. December 30th, 2024, my second daughter, Kaya, was born. And about a month prior to her being born, I was stuck back in the grind. I had a sales team of 8 people. Our business was doing 450 grand a month, which for a coaching business is pretty big in Australia.
mm,
And every day was full of pressure and stress. And we were making a lot of money, but I had no balance. I had no time. And it wasn't just the time, it was the relentless pressure and stress that I felt. I've been journaling for the last 9 years, and I went through my journal entries from November 2024 back the last few years, and it was always the same journal entry. Everything's fucked. Nothing's working. I can't find good stuff. I have no time. So I'm reading this and I'm thinking, when is enough enough? That's a question that's kept coming up for me. my wife Rosie pulls me aside a month before Kaya's born and says, I need more of you this time. And because I've done my own work and I've had the tribe and I've had the mentors and coaches, I was a little bit more aware this time around. So I really sat with that. And I made a decision that a lot of men are afraid to make, and I was terrified of making. I didn't have courage to make this decision 4 years ago. The courage you have had, I didn't have that. So I sat with myself, I created time and space, not working, and I decided to shut my business down. I fired half of my team, no more salespeople. Our revenue went from $450,000 a month to 80. Our expenses were 300 grand a month. And I paid the price of going backwards financially. And that terrified me. Some people right now couldn't even dream of quitting their job or working less. Maybe you can't right now. Maybe it's not the right time. Fair enough. But I made the decision not to have balance. I made the decision to build my business around my life. January 2025 up until April, 3 months, all I did was rebuild. And I took a lot from you, Blake. I really love the life by design. I truly mean that. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I was repeating that frame in my mind. What is a life by design? Well, it's a life that I'm creating. I'm the creator. I hold the pen. So I sat with myself, like I shared at the beginning, body, mind, balance, wealth. What's not working? And I'm like, cool, if I removed fear and if I removed doubt and if I removed scarcity, meaning not enough, what would I do if I started again? Well, I wouldn't have a sales team. I wouldn't spend 150 grand a month on ads. I wouldn't do this. So what would I do? I'd finish work at 2 and hang out with my family. I'd take my family on trips on the weekend. I'd hold my daughter and get to know her. And I'll be honest with you, it was terrifying. I went backwards 500 grand. I was lucky that I had that money there. A lot of people don't, right? Fast forward to today, I don't have balance. Balance isn't real to me. Balance is some stupid word. You're either focused on one thing or another. It shifts. It's like it's constantly shifting. But now I have a life that I truly love, and every man can have this. I finish work at 2 to 3 each day. I spend every weekend with my family. I don't have a big team. I'm making a lot of profit. And more importantly, my wife and I are better than ever. We're connected. My 4-month-old knows me. She laughs every time she sees me. She smiles, she giggles. I hold her every day. But I had to choose to face the fire of letting go of who I was. Like it was like an identity shift. Because I don't know if you can relate to this or any other man. My success, quote unquote, my property portfolio, my bank balance came from the grinder, the sacrificer, the hustler. I need stress. So balance wasn't the new shift for me. It was like, how can I build my business around my life? And guess what happened? I got just as much done. I removed the shit that wasn't important. I condensed the things I did, and nothing ended. The world didn't end, you know? And it was fucking terrifying. It took so much courage to not focus on balance, but ask myself, what do I actually want as a man? I say I want freedom, time, balance, mental freedom, emotional freedom, time freedom, but I'm sacrificing everything in the pursuit. Yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but I'm fired up about this sort of stuff. It
Oh,
drives me.
dude,
Yeah.
you're speaking my love language for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing that you said there, which is exactly the same school of thought that I've had, is building a business around your life.
Yeah.
Now, the reality for most people is they're trying to build a life around their business,
Yeah.
and their wife gets breadcrumbs, their kids barely know them, they're fucking disgustingly out of shape. They barely see their friends. They call their friends work associates. That's pretty much all the friends they've got.
Mm,
And you wonder why you're fucking miserable. Like
yeah.
that has always, if there were two kind of schools of thought that I've had over the last kind of 12 to 18 months when life by design as a language has really come to light for me, it is that. It is like 15 months ago, I thought, okay, little Frankie's on the way at some stage soon. How do I set this up so that I have, we're not going to use the word balance, but I have like proper quality time with her? And to
Yeah.
your point, Parkinson's law, work expands to the time that you give it. So I was like, okay, I knock off it every day at 3. It's between 2:30 and 3, and take Frankie, for a walk now. And I have a walk with her in the morning. Like between 8:30 and 3, I've got shit to do. But if I know that I have those restrictions around myself and I set boundaries for myself and also for clients, and I'm sure you get this, there's always clients that are like, they don't know any better, but they're pushing, hey, can I do a 4 o'clock call? Or can I do a call here? And you're like, no, no, no.
No,
And you just have
no.
to fucking say it time and time again. And you can't afford, I don't know how you feel, but you cannot afford to be a people pleaser, struggle with boundaries or be nice guy, because your boundaries will get pushed. And those are my boundaries now, time with my daughter,
Yep.
and something that I've spent 15 months considering and building.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, like, you can talk about what you value, but you can see it in your diary.
Yeah,
And
man.
if you're not spending time with your kids or your wife, don't go fucking claiming that you value it, because it's not there in your diary and you're not putting time aside.
Yeah, and I understand why guys do it, man. Like what you're showing us right now is your level of awareness and your ability to create time and space, right? And that's why you've sat with yourself and asked yourself, what do I want? But I also understand the man you just mentioned whose body's shit and his relationships are shit and he has no time. That man is doing the best with the tools he has. Now, is it the right way? Maybe, maybe not, but it's a very painful way. So there's a strategy that I like to use called grab your testes. And the reason I use that language is because it will stick in your head for anyone listening. Just grab your fucking scrotum, grab your nuts, right? Grab your testes. Visual language helps people remember. And testes stands for time, energy, and space to strategize and think. TESST. A superpower of mine and something I teach all my clients is carving out testy, grabbing your testes, create time, energy, and space to strategize and think. So part of the shift for me, like it's simple to say to me a year ago, work less, spend more time with your family. Of course, every man knows that. But when you've got bills to pay and taxes and a team, even though it's simple, it's challenging. So what I started to do was, okay, cool. I'll start with an hour a week. I'm just going to sit with myself, no team, no meetings, no distractions, carve it out of my calendar. Let's just think what's not working, what is working, what do I want? Okay, an hour's passed, back to the grind. Then it turns into 2 hours. Now I have like days with 6 hours free. My team's running everything. I have heaps of time to think. And the most successful men on the planet have time to think. But it comes back to this idea of prioritization. So I'll give everyone a framework on how they can actually implement this into their world. Step one, carve out the time. At least an hour, ideally 2. No distractions, no screens, pen and paper. Just sit with your own thoughts. Step 2, reflect. What's working? What's not working? Look at the past. Look at the other areas of your life. What's working? What's not working? What can I do less of or stop doing? What can I do more of or start doing? Keep it simple. What's not working? What is working? What can I do less of and stop doing? What can I do more of and start doing? So create the time, testy, reflect. Once you've reflected, step 3, plan. Plan what you're going to do next. Once you've planned everything, you literally just write down all the things you could do, then you prioritize. So everyone has a to-do list. In our app, we have a most important task list. It's only 4 things a day. You get a point for each one. You have to know what your most important tasks are, and you have to have somewhere to store all the other tasks. I don't know if you listen to Harry Potter. There was this thing called a pensieve where they take their memories and put them into like this thingy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You got to take your thoughts, get them out of your head. So prioritize, then you schedule. You literally look at your calendar and you schedule things in. You schedule the date night first. You schedule the time with your children. I have dad ventures 5 days a week with my daughter. 5 days a week. It's in my fucking calendar. And then you execute. So that's the formula for anyone listening. Testy, create the time. Step 2, reflect. Step 3, plan. Step 4, prioritize. Step 5, schedule it in your calendar. Step 6, execute, meaning take action and follow through. And this is the kicker. There is a price to pay for every decision. So the price I'm paying by taking Talia to the cafe this morning from 5:30 to 7:30 is I'm not working. I'm not going to CrossFit today. That's the price I'm paying. The price I'm paying of finishing today after this podcast at 2:30 p.m. is I'm not making money or on calls or marketing. but I'm spending time with my wife and taking her on a date. And I've made a decision because it's a choice that who I'm going to be is the man who is okay with that and who loves that. You asked me to do that a year ago, I would have been stressed as fuck. It all comes down to what you prioritize and what you execute on. And it's going to feel very uncomfortable for a hardworking man to do this.
Mm.
You'll be like, I could be doing more. I should be doing more. You could be, but when did you decide you have to just work all the time? Why?
And as a business owner, when is there not more to do? There's like,
Never ending.
it never ends.
Infinite. Infinite.
Yeah, I've got a piece that I found really helpful for me in those subtle and small changes. We call it the tweak of the week. So what's the tweak that you need to make to your week that is helping you head more towards like your perfect week or your ideal week? So I really like
Love that.
the
Love
the
that.
way that you plan that. Um, Respect and appreciation,
Mm,
which we go back probably 40 minutes in this conversation, but I wanted to touch on it because I find respect a really interesting dynamic within a relationship, and I'm really interested to hear your thoughts.
mm,
I think as a default, we should respect every single human on planet Earth. It's a good thing to it's a good thing to do, and therefore you should respect your partner. What I find really interesting is where and how respect starts to break down, and there's different schools of thought of you should respect him no matter what. But at the end of the day, you either do or you don't. And I find it really interesting the things that start to impact a relationship and therefore impact respect. Things like integrity, things like, not showing up as your true self. Those things start to eat away at respect. How do you see respect in a relationship dynamic, and, whether it's deserved, whether it's earned, whether it's just a byproduct? How do you see it in a intimate relationship?
respect is something we should give to everyone's humanity. For sure. I agree with you on that point.
Mm,
But I would definitely argue that respect is not given for free. So I
mm,
respect you as a human, as an awesome human that was born and at your core, you're pure. But if you do some shit that's going to make me not respect you, I won't respect you, right?
mm,
So I think a lot of men want respect, but they don't respect themselves. So how can you possibly demand respect from your team, from your partner or your children if you don't respect yourself or you're not earning that respect? And this is a very familiar pattern for successful men because the story is I'm making money, I'm looking after everyone else, therefore you should respect me. This is where a lot of men go into the respect of fear. You yell at your team because they're not performing. You will not earn respect, you will have fear. I thought they were connected intricately until recently. As an example, when my team would fuck up in my business, I would get angry at them and judge them and tell them what they did wrong. It was only when I asked myself, well, how have I not communicated effectively? Where have I not trained them properly? What could I do differently that I got the respect? I got in a meeting with one of my team members about a year ago. He's been with me for 7 years, my general manager, and he'd fucked up a lot of stuff. We'd lost a lot of money. It was like $500,000 we lost from that one mistake. So I sat with him, and before the call, I want to berate him. I want to yell at him. I'm angry because I don't know how to control my emotions like most men. So I sat with the pen and paper. What is my role in this? What could I do differently? I sat with him and I said these words, not verbatim, but I said, look, tell me what you think happened here. He goes, I fucked up. I say, cool, we're in agreement. Now, I don't blame you. This is what I could have done differently. This is what I think we should do better next time. I'm taking ownership of this. What are your thoughts? Instant respect.
mm,
I
100%.
delivered it differently. He sends me a message that day saying, I'm so glad of how you showed up today. It's a different version of Tony. With my partner, it's a bit different. So I realized about 2 years ago that I wasn't getting respect from my partner, but I'd never told her what that meant to me.
Mm,
So in our weekly love meetings, we have a framework for this. We started talking about it, and I shared with her, you're an amazing wife. You tick so many boxes. Can I share with you something that's coming up for me? And she obviously said yes because of the frame. And I said, I realize that I don't feel respect from you, but I don't know if you know what that actually means. And she said, well, I don't. So I explained to her, respect to me is when I say we're going to do something, you don't always question it because you seem to question every decision I make. And that makes me feel like you don't trust me. I started to explain to her what it meant to me because it's unique to each person. And then I asked her, is it okay if you practice this with me? and come on the journey. Now I get more respect than ever. But it's not just enough telling her what I want. I also get to earn it. And that's through my actions, my communication. Another example, uh, when Talia was about a year old, we'd moved to the Gold Coast and my wife was stressed as fuck. She was just overwhelmed. She's very joyful like Shani, but she also has her inner child that was abandoned and traumatized. And when that version comes out, she's overwhelmed, stressed, and nasty. Many men can relate to that. So I come home after a long day. My wife's at this little kids' table, yelling at my daughter, yelling at me. In the past, I would have come from fear, yell back, make her wrong. She now respects me. I decided to do something different. So I took a deep breath and I got down to my wife's level and I looked her in the eyes. And every man listening to this, if you ever have your wife upset, use these words. I said, I understand that you're overwhelmed, you're tired, and you're stressed. I told her what I know she's feeling. I understand you're tired, overwhelmed, and stressed. And, not but, and I'm just trying to support you. I won't let you speak to me like that. I'll be here if you need me, but our daughter doesn't get to see that type of communication. I'm here for you. I went to the kitchen. My wife was so fucking triggered at me and I didn't react. And she came up to me 5 minutes later, gave me the biggest hug. And up until that point, after, what was it, 5 years together, she'd never apologized. She gave me a hug and said, I'm sorry. Now, let me explain how that earned respect. Respect was earned through a combination of two things: empathy, curiosity, and understanding, combined with assertiveness and setting, the word you used, boundaries. And as a man, if you can be empathetic, curious, and understanding, what is this person feeling? What are they thinking? How can I take ownership for my role of this relationship? And you can combine that with calm tonality, assertiveness, and boundaries. You will earn respect in any area of your life. Now, there's a lot of men listening right now that will go, that sounds really fucking hard. Yes. Many times I've not done it like that. But again, after doing it 100 times, you get pretty fucking good at it and you earn that respect from the people around you. Yeah.
Dude, that's excellent. Yeah, really good. Um, for those that want to find out more about you, the work that you do, Empowered Man, where's the best spot to send them?
So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So there's two places. The Empowered Man podcast. It's been growing really fast. So on YouTube and Spotify. And then if you've got value from this, send me a DM on Instagram. It's Toni with an I, Toni, and then Empowered Man, EMPOWEREDMAN. And if you got any value, let me know. And I'll send you Blake's podcast. He did it on mine. It was so powerful. But yeah, those are the two best places, Instagram and the podcast. And yeah, hopefully something has resonated with the listeners and some value has been added.
Dude, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you interviewed me, so I haven't experienced, but the way you articulate's been really impressive today. And
Thank you.
also, yeah, shout out to the team at your end. The quality of your content with the podcast and stuff is unreal as well. So,
Thank you.
good for the visual eye.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I think it's all about value. Like what you're doing is so valuable, and that we're craving this as men and women. We're craving leaders. We're craving leadership, and through the leaders, like what you're doing with this podcast, we get to lead ourselves. And one thing I'd say to anyone listening right now, just one final piece of advice, something that changed my life is to just open your mind and observe everything and look at every single problem as a challenge and every single problem as an opportunity to learn and grow. That has drastically shifted my world.
Mm.
Tax bill, relationship problem, health problem, child problem. It's not a problem. It's a challenge designed specifically to help me learn and grow as a human. And from that frame, life becomes so fucking fun. So I hope that helps.
Beautiful, brother. Good to chat.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.